One semester of law school.
One semester of criminal justice.
Two experts. I'm Kristin Pitts.
I'm Brandi Egan.
Let's go to court. On this episode, I'll talk about two cases where fun pranks ended in not-so-fun lawsuits.
And I'll be talking about Balloon Boy, the 6-year-old boy who floated off in his father's homemade flying saucer. Or did he?
Hello, listeners. We are working on the audio.
Yes.
We are self-aware.
Yes.
We know that I am very, very quiet.
And that I am very, very loud.
It's creating some issues.
We're doing our best to work them out. We've seen a counselor.
The counselor said Brandi's a bitch, so I don't know.
That's not what I heard her say at all.
So the good news is, folks, is Norman is very concerned, which means that we'll get to the bottom of this eventually.
Yes.
But it's going to take a while. So this is so funny. A couple days ago.
Yes.
And let's also turn this into a plug. Norman Caruso, the gaming historian, my fabulous husband, has a Blu-ray out, Volume 1, Gaming Historian. Get it on gaminghistorian.com.
Thegaminghistorian.com.
That's right. Thank you for remembering the website that I go to on a daily basis. So he came to me and he was like, we were talking about the microphone situation, talking about the audio, and he was getting frustrated. And he goes, because, he's used to recording just by himself.
Yeah.
And he goes, I've just never had to deal with too hot. And I thought he was going to say, too hot girls, too hot women. So I was like, and I was almost nodding like, yeah. I know.
You're right. I'm too hot podcaster.
And it's a lot to deal with. And then he said, mics. I've never had to do with two hot mics. But I was so ready for the compliment.
I love.
So maybe some of you are thinking, the problem is you two are too hot.
It's not, and it turns out.
It's a shock to me. So anyway, we'll work on our hotness and on the audio situation.
Yes. Okay. So you came up with the idea to do this special episode.
Oh, yeah. We should also say this is a very special episode.
This is a very special episode. This is a themed episode, which we've never done before.
No.
I mean, the first episode was sort of themed.
This is
a themed episode. So this is a special April Fool's Day episode.
This is your after school special. This is when we get really serious.
This is our Easter tribute. Okay, so we are doing an episode centered around pranks and such.
Yeah. For me, I'm doing pranks that turned into lawsuits.
Yep. And mine's a prank/hoax that turned into a lawsuit.
All right, I'm excited for yours.
Okay. I got my information for this story from an article on Slate.com by Justin Peters, a New York Times article by Brian Stelter and Dan Frosch, and then a USA Today article by Stacy Nick.
Cool.
Okay, it's October 15th, 2009. Richard Heaney was in the backyard of his Fort Collins, Colorado home, preparing to launch a large flying saucer-like helium balloon that he had built. With him were his wife, Mayumi, and 3 sons, Bradford, Ryo, and Falcon.
The names.
The names are great. This balloon that Richard Heaney had created was 20 feet wide.
Oh my gosh.
By 5 feet tall, and it was made out of aluminum foil, duct tape, and string.
Oh my God. When you started this, I thought he was a scientist.
Oh, we'll get there.
Okay.
So Richard Heaney fancied himself an amateur scientist.
Uh-huh. Yep. Okay.
And inventor. So he had invented this balloon as an alternative means of transportation. Mm-hmm. He intended for it to hover above traffic at 50 to 100 feet.
Oh, my God.
And he modeled it after the vehicles from the Jetsons.
That is exactly what I was thinking just now. Yes.
Okay, but here's the problem with 50 to 100 feet. Like, that's not quite high enough, right? You got buildings and shit to worry about.
I mean, but if he's modeling it after the Jetsons, it wasn't... They were in the sky, but, it's like the streets were invisible. They still, paid it.
Yeah.
I don't mean to school you on this, Brandi. But, they did make their way around objects. So maybe that's just how he viewed his idiotic saucer.
Yeah. So, the other thing about this is that I feel like aluminum foil's kind of expensive. So the cost in covering this thing in aluminum foil...
Surely he went to like a restaurant depot, right?
I mean, like the giant rolls of it.
Yeah.
So he said that like in its final form, it was expected that aluminum would generate electric shock up to 1,000,000 volts, and that's how you would be able to, kind of change direction, go from side to side, front to back. So. Now that we're all on the same page with his flying saucer.
I'm picturing him in front of a dry erase board that's just filled with gibberish, just numbers, and like he thinks he knows what he's doing.
Yes. Have you seen 21 Jump Street where Channing Tatum is like doing the equation on the board? It's just like numbers everywhere. And he's like, science! That's exactly what it's like.
Yes, I have seen that film. I'm a big Channing Tatum fan.
All right, so far on this podcast, we've established that you like The Rock and Channing Tatum.
Clearly, I've got a type. Just real puny guys.
Okay, so believing that the balloon was tethered and would hover just above the ground, the Heaney family, launched the balloon. So I don't know exactly what that meant. It was, tied to a basket or some kind of wooden form under it that it had been sitting on in the yard, and then they were going to release it from that, but then there was, supposed to be, a several-foot tether, so it would just rise and then hover tied to this tether. So they launch it, and then they watched in distress as the balloon was not tethered to anything and just floated off into the air.
I just spat directly into the microphone. Wait.
Our listeners loved that.
Hold on. So they thought they had it staked to the ground, but oopsies, someone forgot?
Yes, basically, yes. So... Yes, so they thought that it would just rise a few feet, and then there would be a tether there, then it would just, stay there, and they could, plan if they wanted to release it the rest of the way or whatever. Well, nobody attached the tether, so it just floated off into the fucking sky. Distress then turned to full-on panic when the family realized that Falcon was nowhere to be found.
Okay. I know this is messed up, but when you shared the 3 kids' names, I really hope that Falcon was the one who flew off. It's so poetic.
Yes. Bradford told his dad that he saw Falcon playing in the compartment under the balloon shortly before the launch and believed that he may have climbed in there. So the way this balloon worked, it looked like a flying saucer, right? Mm-hmm. But then it had a compartment under it, a little box. And that box was made out of really thin plywood and cardboard and duct tape, and then was attached by basically string and duct tape to the rest of the balloon. And it had a little door because he intended this to be a vehicle for transport. Mm-hmm. And so it had a little door that you could enter this little compartment by.
How old was Falcon?
6.
Okay.
So, fearing the worst, that his 6-year-old son had climbed into this balloon and was now floating away in a homemade flying saucer, Richard Heaney did what any normal parent would do.
Please say call 911.
He called the local TV station.
Oh, my God. Yep. Yep, normal stuff.
He asked them to send a news helicopter to follow the balloon.
Okay.
And then he called 911. Mayumi and Richard told dispatchers that they had mistakenly launched the flying saucer. Mm-hmm. So that's what they called it. That's how they referred to it to emergency crews. They called it the flying saucer. Mm-hmm. So they had mistakenly launched it, and then they noticed Falcon was missing. It was approximately 11:30 a.m. at this time. Emergency crews were dispatched and followed the balloon for over 60 miles through 3 counties over the next 2 hours.
Oh my God.
Yes. So the news lady, the head of the station, was immediately skeptical. She was like,
well, yeah.
No, I'm not dispatching a news helicopter just because some crazy guy calls me and tells me his son has floated away.
Absolutely.
And so she actually, like, whoever Richard initially spoke to at the news station, they're like, we'll have the director of the station call you back.
Yeah.
And so she called him back. And by this time, police were at the Heaney home. And so she was like talking to Richard, and she's like, yeah, no, we're not going to send a helicopter for this. And he's like, no, this is real. The police are here. And so she asked to speak to the police. And only after receiving confirmation from the police that they were dispatching emergency crews did she say, okay, we'll send the news copter.
Yeah, because in a newsroom, you get people calling up with all kinds of nutty shit
I can't
all
even
the
imagine.
time. The letters you get, and there are some frequent flyers. Yeah, I would not believe any of that.
Yeah. So emergency crews are following this balloon that's floating along. It's really windy that day. And so
oh my God.
This balloon is just taking this crazy path.
Hey, flying saucer. Respect.
Yes, the flying saucer. And so it goes through 3 counties over the next 2 hours. Planes were rerouted around the balloon. It was believed to be reaching altitude of up to like 7,000 feet.
Oh my God, this poor kid.
Yeah. So crazy high. Flights at Denver International Airport were even grounded for a short time. This is kind of an unconfirmed thing. The sheriff's office said it early on, and then later they kind of said, no flights were canceled.
Okay.
But, kind of 2 different accounts on. At least they were paused for a few minutes while the balloon passed
They
through.
looked both ways.
Yes. CNN and Fox News both preempted their regular news coverage, which included a town hall meeting with President Obama to offer live coverage of the incident.
Well, I mean, no offense to Obama, but he's not as exciting as Balloon Boy.
Balloon Boy. CNN vowed to stay on the story until Balloon Boy was brought home safely.
Of course they did.
This homecoming would happen shortly. But the story itself wasn't quite what it seemed. By the end of the day, we had learned that Balloon...
Balloon Boy. Oh no. I got so excited that I just spilled my water all over my lap. Hang on. Great. Now I'm wearing pee pants. Clearly, I can't handle any kind of Balloon Boy jokes. It's too much.
Really not. Okay. By the end of the day, we had learned that Balloon Boy had never been inside the balloon. That he had been home all along, hiding in the attic.
Uh-huh.
By the end of the week, we had learned that his unscrupulous parents had probably staged the entire thing as a stunt to stoke interest in a possible reality show.
Oh my God, that is so gross.
Yes.
Okay, see, I had forgotten so much of this story. That is so...
Yeah.
That is nasty.
Okay, so back to the day that it's happening. It's now 1:35 p.m., so 2 hours since the, mistaken.
Right.
I'm doing air quotes here, but I realize that doesn't really transfer on a podcast.
We are so good at podcasting.
We are expert podcasters.
You think the audio's bad. We're making all kinds of important gestures to each other that you can't see.
So it's 1:35 p.m., and the balloon lands in Keensburg, Colorado. So as it's coming down, like they can tell for a while that it's winding down. It's gonna, part of it has started to deflate.
Really?
And yes,
with that expert craftsmanship.
And the news crews that are like, the anchors that are, commentating the footage are like, we're not going to show the point of impact. We're on a delay here. And like they're building to, this big moment. And so.
Okay. Well, and also you kind of feel kind of bad for them. They think that this thing's going to bust into
and
the
then
ground.
a 6-year-old kid's going to be splattered all over the ground.
I'm sorry. I spat into the mic again.
So it finally lands in this kind of field in Keensburg, Colorado, and emergency crews rush to the aid of the 6-year-old boy falcon believed to be inside. People everywhere who are watching this news coverage are holding their breath as police and paramedics descend on the aluminum flying saucer. And then they watched in confusion as no little boy emerged from the balloon.
Well, yeah, and I assume, like, no blood, there
was nothing. Officials then became concerned that the boy had fallen from the balloon along the way.
Oh my God.
The sheriff's office reported that the door to the compartment under the balloon was unlocked, and a deputy believed that he had seen something fall from the balloon near Platteville, Colorado.
Oh my gosh.
Now, I bet you're wondering how far Platteville is from this other place where we are.
I'm assuming a long ways away.
Colorado. So I looked this up, and on a non-aerial route, it is approximately 27 miles away. So it's probably like about halfway back along this route that this flying saucer took. Search and rescue crews were dispatched to double back along the route and search for the boy's body.
Oh my God.
The Colorado National Guard assisted in the search with 2 helicopters, including a Black Hawk. They called in the Black Hawk helicopter to search for this, what would then be believed to be the remains of this 6-year-old boy who had fallen from this balloon.
Okay, I've got my hand to my chest like an old-timey woman.
Yes.
I am horrified.
Yes.
First of all, I'm thinking, how traumatizing would that be for those workers? They think something that a 6-year-old has dropped.
Yes.
And then the other thing I'm thinking about is, how much fucking money did this cost?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, interesting that you ask that. So, just the cost of these 2 National Guard helicopters to operate for 1 hour is $14,500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just those 2.
Just those 2 helicopters.
We're not looking at like the cost of all those people getting involved.
No.
Yeah, that's...
No. Yes. Then, around 4:15, CNN announced that Falcon Heaney had been found safe. He had been found hiding in a cardboard box in the attic of the family's garage. He had never been in the balloon at all.
And this was how long? Supposedly that he'd been in this box?
CNN announced it at 4:00. So from the initial, like they went on the news somewhere, I think around 1. So like they're 4 hours into coverage when they're like, hold on. Turns out Balloon Boy was never in the balloon.
Yeah.
He was hiding from his family.
Attic boy.
Yes. He's now no longer Balloon Boy. Now he's Attic Boy. So media kind of descends on the Heaney yard. They're all out front. And Richard Heaney is just lapping it up. He's given interviews to everybody. He's taken every producer's business card. And he is just loving it. They agree to do an interview with Wolf Blitzer that night. A live interview on TV. So, in this interview with Wolf Blitzer, Blitzer accidentally broke some news. So, asked by his father why he had hidden in the garage attic and ignored searchers' cries, Falcon replied, you guys said that we did this for the show.
Oh my gosh.
Blitzer, though, apparently did not hear Falcon's answer because he just kept asking the family questions for another 30 minutes. And then finally, someone on Wolf Blitzer's end was like, hey, we need to circle back to that thing that Falcon just said.
Well, what were they, asleep?
Yeah. I have no idea.
Oh my gosh.
So they finally at the end get him to circle back to what Falcon had said. And this is the exchange near the end of the interview.
Oh my God.
Blitzer. Richard Heen, the father of little Falcon. Richard, earlier in the show, I asked you to relay a question to Falcon. He said he was hiding in the garage for 4 hours. I asked you to ask him why he didn't come out after he heard you and his mom and everybody else screaming for him. And you said to him, Falcon, why didn't you come out? And Falcon said, you guys said that we did this for the show. And you said, what did he mean, we did this for the show? And Richard Heeney said, I have no idea. I think he was talking about the media. They've been asking a lot of questions, so somebody asked him that earlier. Which is a weird fucking answer. It doesn't answer the question.
That's like, here's a bunch of words. Yes. Will you please stop asking me questions now?
And so Blitzer says, do you want to ask him now? I don't know if he can hear me. What did he mean by what he said? We did this for the show. Do you want to ask Falcon? And Richard Heeney says, Falcon, they want to know. They want to know why you were in the attic for so long and why you, say it again? And Blitzer says, why he said we did this for the show and explaining why he didn't come out of the attic. And Richard Heeney goes, yes, let me interrupt real quick. I think I can see the direction you guys are heading on this.
Oh, I love it.
Because earlier you had asked the police officers the question. The media out front, we weren't even going to do this interview. And I'm kind of appalled after all of the feelings that I went through up and down that you guys are trying to suggest something else. Okay? I am really appalled because they said out front that this would be the end and I wouldn't have to be bothered the rest of the week with any shows or anything. So we said, okay, fine, we'll do this. So I'm just kind of appalled that you guys would say something like that, you know?
Oh, he's the victim.
And so Wolf Blitzer goes, no, we're not asking anything unusual. You were asked earlier about if this was a publicity stunt. You said it wasn't. The police say it wasn't. The rescue operation says it wasn't. The only thing I wanted to clarify was why Falcon had said earlier we did this for the show. I just wanted to clarify. I didn't understand what he was referring to. So Wolf Blitzer didn't catch this initially.
Yeah.
And apparently was just willing to believe what Richard Heeney had to say.
Oh, God. That'd be tough in that moment on
sure
live
would be.
TV.
Yeah, I think it would be really tough on live TV.
Because if they are truly victims and if this truly was just innocent, then you wouldn't want to offend anybody.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know that thing where people, they get way fired up and way offended and how dare you? And you kind of go, this doesn't seem like a normal reaction.
Yes. So the Heeneys think that, they've got Wolf Blitzer on their side. But investigators were starting to believe otherwise. They had received some tips from people that this family was very media-centered. They'd been working on getting their own reality show. They'd been featured on Wife Swap. And Richard Heeney had said, it was the best thing that ever happened to his family. And so he had been pitching this idea for a reality show to TLC. And it would be kind of a mix of, Mythbusters meets amateur inventor / scientist show, and he would show all these inventions that he's made and do experiments and stuff like that. And TLC was they admit and they even say we were in the works with it for a little while, and then there seemed to be no interest in it, so we dropped the idea. But they had done their episode of Wife Swap had done very well. They were voted a fan favorite, and Wife Swap did 1,000 their 1,000th episode, which sounds like a lot of wife swaps.
Yes.
Maybe it wasn't their. Do not quote me on what episode it was.
Let's say 100.
Yes, they did a special episode where they had fan favorites voted back, and the Heaney family was voted back to be one of the couples on this fan favorite episode.
Okay, now I've got beef with this.
Yes.
Because my favorite wife swap episode. Did you ever see the one with Curtis, the little guy? Norman, okay, this episode came out, I mean, what, like...
Was this the kid that packs his bags?
Yes! It is my favorite clip. So, you know, this new mom comes in, and she's all about health and fitness, and so she starts... The clincher for him was when she threw out the bacon.
Yep.
And little Curtis goes... No, that's not the way it's going to be. Bacon is good for me. And so that came out 10 years ago. To this day, anytime Norman and I are around bacon, we smell bacon, we have bacon in the house, one of us will say, bacon is good for me. And then
he like storms into his bedroom and packs his little suitcase.
He's got to go to Nana's house where there's bacon. I can relate.
Yes, I have seen that episode. I don't know how many episodes. I don't feel like I've seen that many episodes of Wife Swap, but I know that episode.
I think because, do you remember, that was back when The Soup was on.
Yeah.
And The Soup, they'd play clips.
Oh, yeah.
And oh my God.
Yeah.
It's just gold.
Yeah, it is gold.
You're going to be going to the grocery store. Sorry, that's what the dad says. I'm picturing all these people who have no idea what we're talking about, and this is just very strange.
Yes.
Anyway, moving on.
Okay, so investigators are starting to think this isn't what it looks like.
Right.
So they call Richard Heaney to the police department under the guise that they need him to come pick up his giant balloon. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, while he's at the police department, because they believe that he's the head of this operation.
Okay.
So while he's at the police department, they come to the Heaney family home and execute a search warrant.
Oh.
And they find all of these YouTube shows that he had done, and footage of the actual launch.
Oh my God.
The day that it happened. The family was recording it. And so in the recording, the balloon goes up. The family, everybody in the yard is like, the family is present except for Falcon, and nobody seems concerned that Falcon isn't in the yard. Mm-hmm. The balloon goes up, and Richard loses his fucking mind. Uh-huh. He's like, nobody did the tether! You missed the fucking tether! And watches as the balloon, flies off into the... And then the recording ends without any mention of where Falcon is. Uh-huh. And so the police are like, all right. This isn't matching up with the story that they told about how they immediately were concerned about where Falcon was and whatever. And so they also believed that the balloon rose too high, too quickly to be carrying a 6-year-old boy. Mm-hmm. So they reached out to a physics professor at Colorado State University.
Oh, like an actual scientist? Weird.
Yes! To see if the balloon was even capable of carrying a boy falcon size. And it turns out that while the compartment would have been strong enough to hold him, so the plywood was thick enough to hold him and it was attached enough to be able to hold him, the balloon would not have been powerful enough to carry him.
Okay.
He would have weighted it down too much, and it maybe would have been able to briefly lift off the ground, but it wouldn't have been able to climb like that. So it wasn't even possible for him to be inside this balloon.
Uh-huh. But see, to me, that doesn't prove a hoax yet. It just proves that they were dumb. They shouldn't have even thought. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. So then they hear the news, that I mentioned about the TLC show. That TLC had recently been like, nope, we're ending these communications. The show's going nowhere. No one's interested. Sorry. And then they found evidence, and I don't know what this evidence is, that they had been planning this launch missing son situation over a period of 2 weeks in order to regain interest in their reality show.
Surely they didn't take notes on that.
They had to have taken
Yeah, they had to have done something really dumb.
And it's my understanding that when spoken to separately, Mayumi pretty much owned up to it right away.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, this was planned. This was not.
Yeah.
This was not a real thing. We planned this, and somebody else came forward, and it's unclear to me how he knew the Heaney family, but he sold his story to Gawker about how he was part of planning the hoax.
For more information on Gawker, please check out episode 3. Thank you for plugging that. Yeah. But I mean, I feel like if they're such attention whores, then yeah, that makes total sense that they would be blabbing to coworkers and neighbors and friends. Yeah.
Yeah. So on October 18th, 2009, so what's that? Like 3 days after. Yeah, 3 days after.
Okay.
The whole incident. Larimore County Sheriff Jim Alderden. Alderden. Called the incident an elaborate hoax. Fuck.
Did he have trouble speaking?
He sure did.
He was so traumatized by the whole thing.
And he announced that they expected to file felony charges against Richard and Mayumi Heaney.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So I think this part, worth noting here, is that initially, when it first happened, the sheriff was like, oh, this is a horrible tragedy,
Yeah.
We thought this was horrible, it turns out it's just an innocent, like a kid just, playing. We don't believe that there was any ill will here at play, and we don't believe that this was a hoax of any kind. So he then, when he announces 3 days later that it is a hoax.
I bet he was pissed.
He says, we knew from the beginning that this was a hoax.
Oh,
we said all that stuff so the Heanies wouldn't know we were on to them.
Oh. I know what it means. I just wanted to make sure you knew what it meant. No. Oh.
Oh, yeah, we totally knew this was a hoax the whole time. We just didn't want them to know that we were onto them, so we had to say that we didn't know it was a hoax.
You guys are probably thinking that I'm pretty stupid, but actually I'm brilliant. Oh, come on, buddy.
Yes.
There's no shame in just saying...
They fooled a bunch of people.
Yes. And I think going through that progression that you just laid out, it's like, that's what anyone would think. And even if there were red flags, it's like, that would not be the time for red flags.
No.
It's like, okay, the big thing is to save this child. Yes. The big thing is everyone's safe.
Yep.
Now we get into... Oh, wait, these are reality TV stars.
Yeah.
Or aspiring to be.
Aspiring reality TV
which is
stars.
even more pathetic.
Yes. So then on November 12th, 2009, Richard was charged with 1 count of attempting to influence a public servant, which is a felony.
What?
That seems like a weird charge.
That sounds like bribery, but obviously it's not, because then they just say bribery.
Yeah, so... He told a lie to a public servant to get what he wanted.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I guess that's the closest charge to...
Look out, everybody. Yeah, they had to get him on something, and it sounds like that was the thing.
Yeah. I'm guessing because that's like the felony level. And then Mayumi was charged with 1 count of false reporting to authorities.
Okay.
So she said, yes, we really believed he was missing initially, and even though she...
I don't like any of this.
What do you want them to be charged with?
Well, okay, I guess I haven't heard the whole punishment.
Yeah.
But I think there needs to be a really big punishment for that amount of resources, money, time.
Yeah.
That's awful. Okay, continue, because now I want to hear that they are in prison to this day. They're not.
Well,
no.
Get ready to be bummed.
Yeah.
So the Heanies ultimately ended up entering guilty pleas in accordance with a plea agreement. Mm-hmm. Richard was sentenced to 90 days in jail. Yes. I can tell by the look on your face that you do not find that satisfactory.
I am livid about that.
90 days in jail. 30 days he had to serve in jail, and then for the 60... For the remaining 60, he could do a work release program, but he still had to come back to the jail in the evenings.
Fuck that.
I know. He was also sentenced to 4 years of probation and 100 community service hours during each of those years. So 400 community service hours as well.
I'm boiling.
Yes.
That's bullshit.
It's not nearly enough.
That's nothing.
It's nothing.
I'm sorry. When people
Yeah.
when people go to jail for 1,000,000 years because they
Yes.
smoke pot,
Yes.
and
This is just such a huge waste of resources.
yes,
Yes. And
an
they get-
intentional huge waste
Yes.
of resources.
Yep. Mayumi was sentenced to 20 days in jail to be served after Richard so that somebody would be home for the children during the whole time. And she got to serve hers in weekend jail. So she went to jail
me?
every weekend for 10 weeks. Kristin, you're so pissed right now.
So mad. And it's frustrating me because I feel like I'm not doing a good job putting it into words. It's just on my face.
It's all over your face. Yeah.
I guess I'm also surprised that they were allowed to keep their kids.
So here's the thing that I thought about that. I feel like they forced their kids to do this crazy scenario. CPS should have at least looked in on this, right?
I'm not saying they should have for sure been taken away, but I think that sounds like, okay, that cannot be a good environment.
Yeah.
Let's investigate this. That's insane.
And maybe they did. Maybe I didn't come across that in my research, but Wikipedia said nothing about it.
Good enough for me. Weekend jail.
Weekend jail. Yes. She was also given 4 years of probation and 120 hours total of community service. So I don't know if she had to do it on a 30 hours a year type of...
Probably just whenever she felt like it.
She could get
from
around
home.
to it. Yeah, from home. Online community service. The couple was also ordered to pay $36,000 of restitution, which I also don't feel like is enough.
I'm glad they were made to pay something. I mean, at this point, the bar is very low.
Yes. $36,000 of restitution, and this is the best part. I feel like this is so dumb. And they had to write a formal letter of apology to each agency involved in the search.
What?
Yes. That's part of their sentence.
No!
Dear so-and-so, I am so sorry that I wasted your time.
What the hell?
Yeah.
That's the punishment when you're in elementary school. You write the letter.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. What are these agencies going to do with this stupid letter from these two reality?
Yes.
And I'm sorry, a forced apology?
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah.
That's going to mean something.
Just wait.
Did they have the best lawyer on the planet?
I guess. To them, this was horrible because they wanted no jail time and they thought, that this was really extreme.
It is extreme when you want no consequences.
Yes. Richard later said that he only took the plea to protect his wife from being deported because she is a Japanese citizen. In a 2015 interview on the Today Show, he maintained that the incident was not a hoax at all.
Oh, come on.
It wasn't a hoax, Richard Heaney said. It's what I do. I invent. So we were trying to keep it on the lowdown in the backyard. We didn't want our neighbors to see us building it. First of all, that doesn't fucking explain anything.
No, it doesn't. And I hate to point this out, but it makes that apology note seem really insincere.
Yeah.
I know we all put a lot of stock in that.
Yeah, so when he made this comment about how, he only took the plea deal, the prosecution was like, we don't really take very kindly to people saying like this, and this could be potentially in violation of his plea agreement, and we could potentially, go back and
so they punished him really hard?
Did not, no.
Okay.
They could potentially have punished him further, Kristin. They chose not to.
They need some more resentful people on that force. Give me somebody really bitter who's like, that's it. That's it. Coming after you.
During that same Today Show interview, Richard said that he only pleaded guilty, and I mentioned this before, that because the threat of deportation of my wife was imminent. When the deal came on the table, I had to take it. So I'm sorry, I totally fucked this up.
Hey, don't get into my territory. That's my job to read things and then go off the rails.
When that came on the table, I had to take the deal that they proposed to me. So my attorney said, Richard, it's only a 90-day stay. And that was a long time for me. But it really went by quickly. Asked if they would do anything differently as they look back on their experience, Richard said no. And emphasized that the experience helped them get to where they are today with their 3 sons pursuing their passion for music and a rock band.
Oh my God. They're trying to Hanson this thing.
Yes, Kristin, that's right. In 2015, it was reported that the Heenies were now living in Florida, and the 3 sons were in a metal band called the Heenie Boys, where Falcon served as the lead singer. They had self-released 3 albums, including one called Fingered It Out.
No, ew, no, are you serious?
I don't even know what that means.
I have a suspicion.
And that album had a track called Balloon Boy, No Hoax. These are the opening. I watched the video for Balloon Boy, No Hoax.
Yeah, I want to listen.
It's fucking terrible, first of all. These are the opening lyrics to Balloon Boy,
First
No
of all,
Hoax.
how's the singing?
Terrible.
Okay.
Ever have one of those days? Everything went wrong. The shift hit the fan. And who the hell is Wolf?
Oh my God.
The family also put out a series of comic books, an assortment of Heenie Boys merchandise, including Headbanger energy shots, which feature a picture of Falcon on the bottle and promised a cool numbing sensation and a 6-hour wet mouth.
Ew, what? What is that?
I don't know.
Ew.
It was also sugar-free.
Thank you. Thank you for that. 6-hour wet mouth.
6-hour wet mouth. Yeah, for all your wet mouth needs.
Oh
gosh. A little thing I'd like to note here is that the website for Heenie Boys has not been updated since 2015, so it looks as if the band may have broken up.
Oh no. Oh. Well, that's a shame.
So, Heenie's invention for an alternative mode of transport didn't work out. But I'd like to close with going over some other inventions that he has that maybe might take off.
Please.
Maybe not literally.
God.
Some of Richard's other inventions include Bear Scratch, the back scratcher that attaches to a wall, allowing a person to scratch his back like a bear. It sells for $19.99.
That seems really steep.
The next one is Your Shakedown, all one word. The device shakes the lingering remains of items from jars such as ketchup and mayonnaise. There's a home use version and a restaurant use version, and it sells for 6 payments of $29.99.
How much are people struggling with ketchup bottles?
Oh no!
And how expensive? Even worst case scenario, the ketchup's stuck. You buy a new bottle. I mean, oh my God.
The last one is Heenie Duty Truck Transformer.
Wait, say that one more time.
Heenie Duty Truck Transformer. Heenie Duty is also one word.
Of course it is.
This truck robot loading device picks up heavy items and places them in the bed of a truck. The price is not listed, but a 2011 autoblog.com entry said it cost almost $14,000. The website for
my.
it is currently offline.
Oh, you're kidding. Probably because so many people ordered it.
People ordered it.
And they were like, we can't do this anymore. We're on to the next thing. Oh my God. That was amazing. That was so good. So good.
There was a lot in there that I didn't know about the balloon boy.
I knew next to nothing
Yeah.
about it. I mean, yeah. Holy crap. That was so good.
It was pretty fun one. You should really get on and watch the metal videos for the Heaney Boys.
I'm going to. You don't even have to tell me.
Pretty
The
terrible.
second you said they started a band, I was like, what's the earliest that I can look on my phone? just watch the videos. I have to hear this beautiful music.
Oh, are we doing a podcast?
No, you're talking to me and I'm just leaving at random times to pee and get more beverages.
You didn't have enough beverages over there.
I like a good jolt, you know?
Yeah, that's why I drank this Diet Coke.
A single sad
I just
Diet
have
Coke.
one beverage. No ice this time. Although I was so concerned about hearing the ice in that cup on that episode, you couldn't hear it at all.
No, you can't hear a thing.
Turns out I couldn't hear the whole episode.
You know, this is really more of a private podcast.
That's right.
We don't want other people listening.
Certainly not.
My goodness.
Goodness gracious.
I am surprised, though, that you brought Diet Coke.
Yeah, so the reason that I brought this Diet Coke is because I went to get my nails done this morning before I came, and they gave me this Diet Coke at the nail salon.
Okay.
And then I didn't have to stop for a beverage on my way.
That makes sense, because I saw it and I was like, she normally doesn't do carbonated stuff because she's so
I
paranoid about
opened
burping.
I opened it at the nail salon, took like one sip, and then allowed it to go a little bit flat so that I could drink it during the podcast.
Okay. I'm thinking now, because every time I'm at the grocery store, I always think, should I get Brandi some Diet Coke and just have it at the house? And so, but then I always think, no, she doesn't want anything carbonated. So the trick is, an hour before you come over, I will open Yes. Like a fine wine. Should I pour it into a decanter?
That's the only way I take my Diet. I poured this into a decanter and then back into the decanter.
Because you didn't want to seem snobby? No. Okay, so we had this idea to do an April Fool's episode.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I found one prank that I liked. Mm-hmm. I wrote it up. It was like a page. I was like, shit.
That's not enough.
That's not enough at all. So I found another one. Uh-huh. And so I'm doing a couple.
I love it.
I'm going to start with an amuse-bouche.
Amuse-bouche. It's going to be multiple courses.
So this is just a little thing. This is the story that made me think, oh, we should do an April Fool's episode. Yeah. Have you heard the one about the Hooters waitress?
No.
Okay. 2000.
Does she walk into a bar?
She sure does. So 2002. At this Hooters, I think it was in Florida. I don't know.
Probably Florida. Florida's crazy.
I know. Yeah, for real. For real. So at this Hooters location where she was working, they were told, hey, whoever sells the most beer tonight will win a Toyota. So she gets super excited. She does a great job. She sells a ton of beer. She wins the contest. She's so excited. They put a blindfold on her. They take her out to the parking lot. She thinks she's going to get this Toyota. They take the blindfold off. They hand her a toy Yoda.
Oh, God.
The Star Wars toy.
Yes.
She's pissed.
Yeah.
Totally, totally pissed. The manager said this was an April Fool's joke, but one of the articles I saw said this happened in May, so he's doing it wrong.
A poorly timed
April Fool's. Yeah. So eventually, she quit. She sued. She ended up settling with Hooters, and her lawyer said that now she can buy any Toyota she wants. So I liked that story. Yeah. So I decided that I wanted to do a couple of these, pranks that turned into lawsuits. Also, I think that sucks.
That does suck. That's fucking terrible.
I think it's especially sucky to play on, you know, a waitress isn't making a ton of money.
No.
And so you tell someone that they could win a car.
Sorry, you're being so awkward.
What is going on with you right now?
I feel like I have to sit off to the side to see you over my bike.
So, since you guys can't see the weird shit Brandi's doing, you said no, and then you rested your chin on your fist like you were posing for a Glamour Shots portrait. It seemed super...
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Super sarcastic and aggressive.
No, I do think it is terrible.
Oh, do you? Well, I'm glad we're on the same page. So now moving on to another one.
Yes.
Pranks turn into lawsuits.
Got it.
Here we go. Do you understand what I'm doing?
I think that everybody's following. I think Norm knows what you're doing.
You know,
Peanut, do you know?
I realized as soon as I said that I have explained this like 5 times. Like, people are going to be like, wait, what? What is happening?
Pranks that turn into lawsuits?
Thank God I've got this rewind button.
I thought you said banks that turned into pants.
I would listen to that. Oh, no. It's a silent laugh. It's too much.
Oh, God.
Okay, so
tell me again. We're doing pranks that turn into lawsuits.
I almost spat iced tea everywhere. So, Brandi, okay, pay attention. Okay. So, these are pranks, right? Just jokes. But then they turned into lawsuits.
Oh, I totally am on board now. I get it.
Do you want to write it down so you can refer back to what I'm doing here? I know it's complicated. I know it's super complicated. We'll get through it, though.
Yes.
This episode is only for really smart listeners.
Yes. Yeah.
If you had
This
any
really
kind of
gonna weed 'em
academic struggles, you should not listen to this one. Okay. Glenn Howlett. He had a job as the community services manager for London, Ontario. I love how serious you are right now. You're with it. Okay. This was a big job. He earned more than $155,000 a year. He controlled more than a third of the city's budget, more than 400 employees reporting to him. He'd been at this job for almost 30 years. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, big deal.
Yeah.
I'm saying this only because sometimes in these articles, like when they just do a blurb of hilarious April Fool's pranks gone wrong, I don't know, you get the idea that, oh, this was just some kind of low-level civil servant guy. No, big deal. So in early November one year, he was enjoying a vacation in Alberta with his wife. When his coworkers, and by the way, we're not talking low-level coworkers here, we're talking about highly paid upper management, 6-figure types, emailed him with an urgent message. They said the deadline for this massive, time-consuming project was being brought forward. I'm not going to get too into the weeds on the project, but it was called a corporate renewal plan. It was super controversial. People in unions were pissed. They were like, this is going to hurt workers' rights. You know, big deal. Yeah. And they're saying, oh, you're on vacation? It's due in 2 weeks, buddy.
Oh, shit.
He freaks out. Because the people who pulled this prank did a really good job with it. They made it look like a resolution. It was on official city letterhead. It was certified by the clerk's office. This was not just some, dumb little email in Comic Sans. Okay?
That is the worst font ever.
It sucks. It sucks. Especially if it's like Comic Sans and you know it's not black. Like they always throw it in a different color.
It's teal Comic Sans.
And their email signature has an inspirational quote in it.
Yes.
Okay, so Glenn freaked out, understandably. He called his staff. He was like, guys, we all have to pitch in on this. It's due in 2 weeks. Let's get rolling. He cut the vacation short, and this is the saddest part. He went to Staples.
Oh, God.
Imagine, you're on vacation, you cut the vacation short, and you have to go to Staples and get a bunch of office supplies.
Oh, God.
So he gets a ton of paper. And, of course, they also told him, hey, the former city manager will be on a conference call listening in on your report. And as soon as you're finished, he's going to give a full critique.
Oh, hell.
Yeah, so as if there wasn't enough pressure.
Yeah.
Here, we're going to add this on. Poor Glenn. He had heart palpitations. He had to go to his doctor because, I mean, the stress was just, it was taking a physical toll on him. So the doctor administered an electrocardiogram, sounds serious, and told him he needed to take time off work. He was like, for your health, you need to slow down, take some time off. At some point, I assume around this time, he found out that it was all a hilarious joke.
Oh my God, that's not a hilarious joke at all.
But I wrote hilarity ensued. So he was pissed, understandably.
Yeah.
And he sued. And the thing he said, and I totally agree with this, was this was not a prank. This was harassment.
Yeah.
Because to me, a prank, no. A prank is fun. And by the way, this was not in April. I kind of assumed maybe they moved the deadline to April 1st. No, this happened back in November. So this, to me, this sounds mean-spirited.
Yeah.
Sounds like a bunch of jerks.
Yeah.
So, of course, the city offered to settle. They didn't want some big lawsuit.
Yeah.
But what they really wanted was for Glenn to sign a confidentiality agreement. And Glenn was like, okay, I will settle. And I will retire 2 years ahead of time. But you're not going to shut me up.
No.
So he went to the London Free Press, which I think is just their local paper, and was like, hey, heads up. Here are the 3 high-ranking employees who pulled this prank on me.
Oh my gosh.
City manager Bob Blackwell, acting finance manager Vic Coate, and city engineer Peter Steblin. I love that he did that.
I do too.
Because I think, especially when it's the government.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, somebody pulled this prank, totally unprofessional, wasted time, wasted resources. You should know that, it's the 6-figure people who pulled this. It wasn't just like, some low-level group.
Yep.
Yeah. The 6-figure important people were wasting each other's time and making this a bad work environment.
Yep.
Do you wonder how I feel about it? So this all went down in 2004.
So we're doing pranks turned into lawsuits.
Did you forget?
No,
Did you forget what I'm doing?
I checked my note.
Good. So this all went down in 2004. The year we graduated from high school. Yes. He'd planned to retire in 2006. Instead he retired early and the city paid him $20,000. But Glenn said that if he'd stayed on another 2 years, he would have gotten an extra $20,000 a year from his pension.
Right.
But I think he was just kind of like, you know what? Done.
Yeah.
And he was making really good money.
Yeah.
So I don't feel too bad about that. So the consequence for all that. After all that, London city councillors passed a bylaw prohibiting employees and politicians from playing practical jokes on each other.
Oh my God.
They can't do it anymore in London, Ontario.
No, practical
Seriously.
jokes. Wow.
They're banned.
Wow.
Yeah.
3 assholes have to ruin it for everybody.
I feel like some people don't know how to play pranks.
That's not a prank.
No.
That was mean-spirited.
Yes.
Like, I don't know how you could possibly look at that and say, oh, look at this funny, harmless thing we're doing to somebody.
I think the question you have to ask if you're wanting to play a prank on somebody is, first, do I like this person?
Yeah.
Because to me, it sounds like nobody liked him.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like teasing somebody. If you really like them and you've got that kind of friendship, then it's all in good fun.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not.
Maybe,
but,
yeah.
That's like the first hurdle.
Yeah. Well, I think the other question that you have to ask is, how would I feel if this was done to me?
Yeah. I tell you what, you cut my vacation short.
It lives in my mind.
Oh, my God.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. It would not be good.
Yeah, no.
I've got another one for you. And again, so this is a prank.
Okay, a prank that turned into
Yes.
a lawsuit.
Yes,
Okay.
very good.
I finally got it.
Finally, it took a while, as I knew it would. I knew I was bringing some complicated stuff. Okay, this one is really crazy. Okay.
So excited.
So one day, a woman named Amber Dewick started receiving strange emails from a man she did not know. He said his name was Sebastian Bowler and that he lived in England. So she's in LA. He said...
sounds like an English name.
Sebastian Bowler?
Yeah.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
All right, I'm on board so far.
Okay. He said he was running from the law, and he knew where she lived.
What?
Mm-hmm. And he was going to come to her place to lay low for a while.
What?
In one of the emails, he wrote, Amber, mate, coming to Los Angeles, gonna lay low at your place for a bit till it all blows over. He included links to his MySpace page. This was a while back, obviously. Yeah. So, in one of the articles, they included this picture of him. And he's laying on what appears to be a street, and the camera is on the ground in front of him. Mm-hmm. And he's got both his hands in fists. One is kind of close to the camera, one's like more by his head, like he's about to punch you. Uh-huh. And he's got two big, like, gold blingy rings. Oh, God. You know, like one on each hand. And he's scowling, and he's about like 25. Mm-hmm. There's a really pretty tree in the background.
That's what you took for the picture? There's a beautiful tree in the background?
The funny thing is like, I don't know, to me it was like, okay, he's clearly trying to be tough, but at the same time, it's clearly like a park behind him. It just seemed kind of, anyway. He also had pictures of a pit bull on his page named Trigger, and he described himself on the MySpace page as a fanatical English soccer fan who enjoys drinking alcohol to excess.
Yeah, who among us is not?
I like spelling it out, though. Yes. Like, hey, I like to know my limit and then just blow past it. So Amber freaked out. Mm-hmm. She had no idea who he was, but he clearly knew her. She couldn't eat. She couldn't sleep. She had trouble concentrating at work. She was really freaked out.
Yeah.
More emails come in. In one message, he included her address and wrote, "Looks all right, mate. Nice place to hide out. We don't need much, though. Just a couch and a telly. Trigger don't throw up much anymore, but put some newspaper down in case."
Oh, gosh.
So she's getting emails, calls, texts from this guy. Then she gets an invoice from a hotel manager somewhere, supposedly from where Sebastian had stayed, because, again, he's traveling to L.A. to stay with her. And they're like, he damaged the hotel room, and we need you to pay. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Then she gets another message from Sebastian. It says, "Amber, mate, had a brush with the law last night. Anyway, hopefully I will have lost them by the time I get to your place. Can't wait to see you."
Oh my gosh. This is crazy.
It gets weirder.
Oh my gosh.
So Amber lost it.
Yeah.
She told her boyfriend, "Look, you need to sleep with Mace next to the bed. Also, can you have a club next to the bed? Like, let's Fred Flintstone this out." She told her friends, she told her neighbors, she told her family. And it's unclear to me if maybe the guy had her former address, but at one point she reached out to the person who was living in her former home and said, "Hey, there's this guy, just be on the lookout. I'm really concerned." So this lasted for 5 days. Again, emails, texts, phone calls. At that point, she got one final email. The prankster revealed themselves. Who do you think it was?
Her boyfriend?
That is a totally reasonable guess.
Uh-huh.
It was Toyota.
What?
So the link in the email was to a web page advertising the Toyota Matrix. Their tagline for that vehicle at the time was, "Your other you experience."
What the fuck?
Yeah.
How did that get out of the development meeting when they're like,
Uh-huh.
okay, I've got this crazy marketing idea?
Very good question. How? Why? What?
Yes.
Okay. So she was obviously like, what the hell?
yeah.
What is this about? Turns out this was all part of an ad campaign because Toyota wanted 20-something males. And around this time, this was 2009, remember, Punk'd had been on TV and that was popular. So their ad company, I think it was Saatchi, said, you know what 20-something males love? Pranks.
Oh my gosh.
So they set up this ad campaign where you could basically nominate your friend for a prank. You would give the ad company information about your friend, and then you would select from one of, I think, 5 different personas, and that persona would then actively harass your friend via email, text, phone calls for 5 days. And at the end, it would all be part of the Toyota Matrix, your other you experience.
My fucking jaw's on the floor right now. Are you kidding me?
It is completely unreal.
That is unbelievable.
Yes. So, worth noting, by the way, that the folks at Saatchi who created this campaign were real proud.
No, God.
I'm going to read a quote. Even when you get several stages in, it's still looking pretty real, Saatchi creative director Alex Flint said. I think even the most cynical anti-advertising guy will appreciate the depth and length to which we've gone.
All right.
That's nuts, right?
That's nuts.
Okay. But how did Amber get duped? What exactly happened?
Somebody had to nominate her, right?
Right. So here's what happened. Her friend sent her a personality test. So she took it. The catch is that as part of the test, I assume maybe to get your results, you had to sign a consent agreement.
Yeah.
It was one of those long terms and conditions things, which, for the record, I've never read in my life.
Never in my life have I signed, yes, I agree to these.
Always. You always check the
box.
box.
Yes.
Never do you read it.
No.
For the record, she says that she even couldn't read it because it was unintelligible. But whatever. So you might be thinking, okay, well, they probably spelled out the prank in the terms and conditions. No one reads the pranks, or no one reads those things, so it didn't matter. No, they didn't.
What?
Even if she had read the terms and conditions, here's what she would have discovered. All it said was that you're agreeing to a 5-day experience.
Okay.
Yes, Brandi.
I can't even get the words together to express this. If you are going to do something like that, you clearly know that you need to be protected, so you've hidden this in a terms and conditions. You need to fucking spell it out. God damn it.
I just knocked the mic. As soon as you got your words together, I was like, bang. Sorry.
Fuck, where was I? So they clearly knew they needed to be protected because they hid this information in a terms and conditions agreement. But then they didn't even do probably what is legally required to protect themselves.
Let's find out, shall we? So, yeah, these terms and conditions, they talk about a 5-day experience. It'll be interactive. You'll receive texts, calls, emails as part of this 5-day experience, which again, no. 5-day experience is way too vague for what this was. At no point did they say, oh, we're going to play a prank on you. You're going to think you're being stalked by a criminal. Yeah, obviously not. Okay. Amber was very mad.
Yeah.
So she sued. She sued Toyota and Saatchi, the ad company, for intentional infliction.
Wait, is Saatchi the ad company?
And again, this is a prank. So they thought it was, and a prank is like a joke. And it turned into a lawsuit.
Oh, okay.
Which is where someone sues another party, or in this case, two parties.
I was so confused. I thought we had turned this into a prank podcast. And I was like...
I totally understand why you would be confused. I also am a human. And you are too. So she sues them for intentional infliction of emotional distress, negligence, false advertising, etc. How much do you think she wanted?
Oh, gosh. $1 million.
$10 million. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. I feel really bad for her. This sounds rough. This doesn't sound $10 million rough.
$10 million rough, but yeah.
I mean, I would gladly take this for $10 million. So Toyota and Saatchi were like, you can't sue us because you signed the terms and conditions. You have no right to sue us. You can't even sue us because you signed the terms and conditions.
I bet that's not true.
So here's the funny thing. Before she could officially sue them, she had to have a court determine whether she could sue them.
Yes.
So the district court found in favor of Amber. And Toyota and Saatchi immediately appealed that decision. And so the appellate court looked at the case and they were like, you guys are nuts. Even if she did read the terms and conditions, which, you know, she claims she couldn't be because the text was illegible. But even if she did, saying that someone is going to get a 5-day experience is not a sufficient heads up for what you did.
I fucking knew it.
Yes! Legal expert. Like, basically, she could have read this whole thing. She would have had no idea you were setting her up for something terrifying.
Yeah.
So the contract is void. You didn't have consent to do this. No. That's the whole end of the court opinion.
Yeah.
Just a series of notes.
A series of notes.
So the appellate court was like, we affirm the decision of the district court. P.S. You need to pay her legal fees.
Yeah.
Which...
P.S. You're mean.
P.S. You're a bunch of jerks. As a side note, I read this opinion piece about this case, which I thought was really dumb. The guy who wrote it called it a humbug of a ruling. And said,
I don't think that's a humbug of a ruling at all.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Clearly we know what side he's on.
I wonder if he was a 20-something male who apparently loves pranks.
Yes.
But so in this article, and he did admit that this is an extreme example, which, duh.
Yeah.
He said, this could chill any type of ad campaign in which consumers are briefly duped before the advertiser reveals the truth.
What's the harm in that? Like, that sounds like a good thing.
Well,
don't we want to end any kind of ad campaign that would dupe somebody?
Well, here's the thing. He compared it, and I think this is a totally unfair comparison. He compared it to, you know those Febreze commercials where people walk in blindfolded to like a disgusting room, and they're like, this smells great, and then they take off the blindfold and they're like, oh, whoa, this is disgusting. So
that's not the same.
Thank you. That's why I was reading this going, this is not the extreme version of that.
No, this is not.
Because no one's victimized in that.
The extreme version of that would be like blindfolding them and telling them that they're going to eat something delicious and then like shoving cat shit in their mouth. That's the extreme version of the Febreze commercial.
Not 5 days of thinking some convict is coming for you.
No!
Here's...
Okay, wait, I have one question.
Yeah.
Do you think that the person who came up with this scenario for the ad campaign, just this specific one, you said they got to choose from like 5 different scenarios, this one where the guy was coming and he was getting close, do you think he liked that story? The Viper is coming? Do you remember that story? Like the woman's home alone in her apartment, she keeps getting a call, the Viper is coming, I'm on the 14th floor. And like he keeps getting close, he keeps calling, getting closer. And then when he gets to the door, she's terrified and he's like, I'm the viper. I'm here to vipe your windows.
God. That was his first short story as a middle schooler. So he brought up another example of this type of ad, and I'm just going to bring it up just because I think it's kind of funny.
Okay.
So he's saying this is in the same vein as kind of the Febreze commercial, blah, blah, blah. I'd never heard of this one. Apparently, this is kind of funny. So this company invited a bunch of food bloggers to this intimate Italian restaurant in New York. And they said celebrity chef George Duran is going to prepare them a special meal. I don't know who that is, but he's a big deal if you're a food blogger, I guess. Why? What's the deal with
Is this a Domino's commercial?
No.
Oh,
no.
okay.
But you're on the right track.
Okay.
At the end of the meal, they were told that they'd eaten a Marie Callender's frozen lasagna. So the bloggers were super pissed. They did not handle it.
The same.
Again, he's trying to draw this comparison like, it could have a chilling effect on this type of advertising. I don't think so.
I don't either.
I think it's just like, if you're going to get someone's consent, you need to be reasonably upfront about what it is you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a little thing like Febreze, where you're duped for a minute?
Yeah.
No, not the same.
It's not the same.
So what happened? Sorry for the pause.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
I know you are. I know. It's always intentional when I have a long pause.
It's not at all that you lost your place.
Not at all. So the two courts obviously were like, yeah, guys, sorry, Amber can definitely sue you. Mm-hmm. And if I were them, I would have settled immediately because this is so crazy embarrassing. I mean, when I read through the story and I'm thinking, okay, one of her friends, her boyfriend, someone she knows played this prank on her, with the help of Toyota,
That is so
it blew my mind. And I'm thinking, if I'm Toyota, if I'm this ad agency, I don't want anyone else to know.
No, you settle, you give her a free Toyota, and you move on with life.
One of the articles I saw about this, the headline started, "From the bad idea file." Like,
Yes. Yes.
So since this didn't go to a jury trial, although it could have, I assume she settled. I couldn't find what the amount was. I assume not 10 million.
Yeah.
But I hope she got a lot of money.
Me too. Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
I just cannot see how that got out of the development meeting.
No, because a lot of people had to sign off on this. Tons of people had to be involved.
Oh my gosh.
Am I being nuts, or am I thinking surely there were no women in that meeting?
Got that tinfoil hat on again?
I've got my tinfoil. You know what I realized last night? I was like, I need to space out my feminist stuff. And I don't know why I had that thought, but I've had that thought this whole podcast. like, I need to space out my feminist stuff so people don't and what am I, people aren't going to know? I don't know. I just but I've noticed that at the end of every episode, I always have this thing, but were men involved? And I shared my theory about...
Was this at the He-Man Woman Haters Club?
I need to know the location. But
I get what you're saying. I feel like a woman might have tried to pump the brakes on this idea.
I'm just thinking to me, stalking and some criminal knows where you live and is coming to you, that's terrifying. I can really imagine that. Mm-hmm. I wonder if these advertising dudes were just
at the same time.
Okay.
Putting myself in that conference room where the pitch is being given by Saatchi. Mm-hmm. They've got fucking storyboards and a projector and a laser pointer, bright colors, pie charts, bar graphs. I might get on board with it. Just you're right. This does look amazing. Look at this. Yes, people love Punk'd. I love Dax Shepard. Ashton Kutcher's amazing. Yes, let's do it. Without realizing on the receiving end, you're going to feel like somebody
Terrified.
is stalking you.
Okay, does this go back to your theory about how you could have easily been sucked into a cult?
Yes, it does.
Yes. So what we're hearing is, as long as you've got a flashy enough PowerPoint presentation, Brandi will be like, Helter Skelter is coming. I will get on the back of your dune buggy.
Take me up to your garbage dump.
I am special.
What about the Beatles?
I hear it too now that you mention it. I didn't hear it before. If any of this sounds unfamiliar to you, check out episode 1.
Check out episode 1. We'll wait.
Not that you can hear us anyway. So those are my 2, again, pranks that turned into lawsuits.
I loved this episode. I thought this was so fun.
I love pranks. Do you like pranks, or are you?
I know I do like pranks.
Some people are very sensitive about them and not fans.
Yeah, no, I like pranks.
I think we should close out this episode by talking about pranks we have pulled, pranks that have been pulled on us.
Oh my gosh.
Think it over.
I don't know if a prank has been pulled on me.
Why would you say that?
Okay.
That is like tempting fate.
Oh, God. When I was a kid...
Okay.
On April Fool's Day, my sister and I would tell my dad the exact same thing every April Fool's Day from like, I don't know, it was early as I can remember till I was old enough to realize it was fucking stupid. On April Fool's Day, we would tell my dad he had milk on his head. And he'd be like, what? And then we'd be, April Fool!
Milk on his head! I love that your dad played along. I bet you guys were so excited.
Yes.
So until late high
I was
school,
like 14 and he was like,
Brandi, I'm worried about
enough
you.
is enough.
Was that the first day someone tried to explain to you what a prank was? I love that. I think that's so sweet.
Yes.
You know, I started thinking about this when I was looking at the Glenn Howlett thing.
Yeah.
Because for a long time, I loved pranks. My friends and I would play them on each other. I would play them all the time.
Yeah.
The last prank I pulled was like 10 years ago. And it was at work.
Oh, gosh.
And the guy reacted so badly that I haven't played one since, but I hadn't even thought about... Okay, so
what
here's...
did you do?
Here, okay, yeah, this will be good to get a second opinion on this. So I had these 2 other friends at work. We were all really close, and we all loved The Office. And this was back when The Office was still on. And you know that prank where Jim would like put one of Dwight's things in Jell-O?
Yeah.
So my friend Jenny and I thought, oh my gosh, it'd be so fun to play this prank on our friend where we put his stapler in Jell-O.
Yeah.
So one night, took his stapler, put it in Jell-O, which is so hard to do.
Yeah.
Jim makes it look easy. My Jell-O mold looked like shit. So it was just like a stapler surrounded by Jell-O. It looked really bad. But that was our April Fool's prank. We put it in his desk drawer and then, asked him for his stapler. He opens it up. And, we're standing there like mouths open, so excited for him to do this. He got pissed. He was really mad.
Wow.
Yeah, he was really mad. And he said something about like it being the property of the company or something.
Oh, God.
I felt terrible. I immediately took it back and, washed it and everything.
Yeah.
And I haven't pulled a prank on anybody since.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I mean, I always enjoyed, like, watching Punk'd. I always thought it was funny.
Yeah, yeah.
But I've never been someone who, like, plays pranks on people. And I can't think of any off the top of my head that people have played on me.
So I basically brought up a discussion point that only I have. This is only slightly self-indulgent, right?
I love it.
Okay, I've got to tell you one.
Okay.
This I think, this might be the best one that's ever been pulled on me.
Okay.
This was when I was in college. My friends and I had this apartment, and we had a mouse problem. Disgusting.
Yeah.
We had this guy come out to, alleviate the problem. And he warned us. He was like, look, be really careful about putting on your shoes in the morning because sometimes they'll give birth in the bottom of your shoe and you'll put your foot in it and it'll feel like you're stepping on gummy bears.
Oh my God. It's just baby mice in there.
Yes. We all freaked out. Okay. April Fools. I was looking all over for my boots. Couldn't find my boots. I was running late. Ran upstairs. There they are in the living room. Thank God. Okay. I put them on. And immediately I feel the mouse babies in there. Oh, and I lost my mind.
Oh my God.
Like freaked out. I jumped on the couch and my roommates were all just cracking up. And I'm thinking they don't understand what's happening.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, you don't understand. The mice are in my shoes. And of course, my roommate Kristina dumps out my boot and out comes the gummy bears.
Gummy bears, so good. That's pretty horrible.
It was so good, though. It was so good.
Oh, my gosh.
My friend Kristina, my other friend Kristina, who's actually listens to the podcast and all that. She's a master prank puller.
Really?
One time, this was when I first moved back to Kansas from North Carolina, and there was this huge Powerball lottery going on, and the winner was from Kansas.
Yeah.
But Kansas is one of those states where if you win the lottery, you're not like legally obligated to come forward and say, hey, it was me.
Yeah.
Okay, so someone from Kansas won the lottery. Kristina went on our college Facebook page and wrote, congratulations, lottery winner and Simmons alumna, Kristin Pitts.
Oh my gosh.
And I can't remember where I was, but I obviously didn't see that right away.
Yeah.
Instead, I got some like really random texts from people I had not heard from in years congratulating me. So yeah.
Gosh. That's amazing.
She's a good one. She also called me on April Fool's Day when I was a reporter and said her name was Deep Throat and she wanted to meet me out in the parking lot. Shout out to Christina Linus for being really good at pranks.
Those are all excellent.
I'm a big fan.
I'm now saying that there's a hole in my life where I've had no pranks.
Maybe I can like dip my toe in and prank you somehow.
I don't want your toes anywhere near me, Kristin.
They're covered in gummy bears. They're delicious.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Well, I thought this was really fun. I thought that was a great idea, Kristin.
I loved the Bubble Boy.
He's the balloon
Boy.
boy.
Oh, that's Seinfeld that I just said. Bubble Boy. No, I love that hoax.
Yeah, I thought that was a good one.
I love these ones where you think you kind of know the story, but then it turns out,
there was a lot you didn't know.
There's
about.
tons.
Yeah. Yes.
The whole reality TV show thing is so gross and so telling of the time.
Oh, yeah.
That was a time when like everyone thought they deserved their own reality show.
Well, everybody thinks they're hilarious and amazing. Oh, we don't know anything about that.
Yeah, that's such a good point. We're sitting here with these mics like, they think they're so special.
Oh my God,
people should listen.
Everybody wants to hear everything they have to say.
They're nothing like us, Brandi. We've got something serious here. Highly talented.
Oh gosh, that's right. Expert podcasters.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, if we can just get the audio right.
Right, yes. So, if you enjoyed listening to this episode, or any of these episodes, the ones that you can hear, we would love if you would go like us on Facebook, subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, leave us a review, follow us on Instagram at LGT Podcast, follow us on Twitter at Let's Go, 2 Court.
And you can be our second follower on there.
That's right. We still only have one. It's me. Kristin, you haven't even followed us.
I'm too cool. No, I do need to do that.
And if you have some tips on how to fix our audio, send us over an email at lgtcpodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you so
If
much.
it's just telling me to shut the fuck up, noted. I don't need to hear it.
If you have no actual audio experience and your advice is, hey, Kristin, have you thought about talking louder? And Brandi, have you thought about talking softer? No, we don't need that kind of advice. Thank you very much. Professionals only, please. Also, keep in mind, this is the first time we've dealt with two hot mics in this house.
I just love that story. Like, you were all ready. Thought Norm was giving you this great compliment.
Both of us. I thought for sure it was like, well, it's amazing. You learn where your ego's at when something like that happens. Because, like, immediately my mind was like, we are good looking. I can see how it could create some problems.
Which the audio?
Which problems? I don't know.
Oh, God.
Why my husband would be upset about this, I'm not sure. But I bought it. And when he said mics,
You were just immediately deflated.
Yeah,
like
oh.
the Balloon Boys flying saucer.
He said too hot, and I flew up in an aluminum foil raft into the air. Didn't fall out anywhere.
Nope.
Okay.
Join us next week
when we'll be experts on two whole new topics. Podcast adjourned. And now for a note about our process. I read a bunch of stuff, then regurgitate it all back up in my very limited vocabulary.
And I copy and paste from the best sources on the web, and sometimes Wikipedia.
So we owe a huge thank you to the real experts. For this episode, I got a lot of my info from CBS News, Wired.com, ABC News, and the London Free Press.
And I got my info from articles on Slate.com, the New York Times, and USA Today.
For a full list of our sources, visit lgtcpodcast.com.
Any errors are, of course, ours, but please don't take our word for it. Go read their stuff and watch that Key Boys Balloon Boy metal video.
And remember, guys, this was a podcast about pranks that turned into lawsuits. Explain it to your friends before you recommend it.
Maybe we should put this at the beginning. So
We
people
should.
know going in.
That'll be all the show notes.